Good morning. My name is Laurel Hutchinson. And this morning, I want to talk about the power in seeing yourself. I teach in an urban school district where the majority of students are Black and many of them born to immigrant parents. At my school, I sponsor the College Readiness Club, where the focus is not only to expose students to college and what it has to offer, but to prepare them to get there. A big part of what we do is to go on college tours. And on these college tours, students get to really experience what it's like to be in a college atmosphere. So a few months ago, I took my students to tour a college that is very prestigious, not only in our area, but it is ranked among one of the best in the country. The campus was beautiful, to say the least. We were told about all of the great academic programs that they had, how well they ranked in the nation, not to mention their competitive sports program and the vast amount of clubs and organizations that they had. The tour was going great until one of my students asked the tour guide, "What is the percentage of African Americans on this campus?" The tour guide, who happened to be a young Caucasian woman, was actually stuck. She took, it seemed, for what would have been 1 minute before she can actually even utter the words, I don't know, and I'm not actually sure. And then she proceeded to say, "Well, even though I don't know, I know for sure at this school you won't meet anyone who is like someone else. Everyone is different, everyone comes from all walks of life, and that's what's great about diversity on this campus." I can say from that moment onward, my students had a bad taste in their mouths. And so we broke away for lunch, and I debriefed with my students. And I asked them, "How'd you feel about the college? What are some of the pros? What are some of the cons? Do you see yourself attending this school? What did you like and what didn't you like?" And one of my students said, "Miss Hutchinson, it was nice, but no one here looks like me." And immediately in that instance, I was brought back to my own personal experience. As a college student, I attended a PWI where I was used to not seeing anyone who looked like me. And in that moment when my students said it, I really had to reflect back on my journey from high school to college. Because I too, like my students, I attended an urban high school where the majority of students looked like me, came from the same social and economic backgrounds as me. And once I went to college, I was thrust into a world where almost in all of my classes, I was the only person of color represented. And as I thought about my past experience, and I thought about what my students had to say, I realized that there is power in seeing yourself. When students see themselves in an institute of higher education, it lets them know that there are others who are like me, there are others who have struggled like me, there are others who share the same experience as me, and they too are here working towards the same goal. The power in seeing yourself in an institute of higher education means that you and others that are like you are breaking barriers, that you're breaking stereotypes. The power in seeing yourself in an institute of higher education lets you know that your culture is represented, that your culture is valued, that your culture has a place in such a community. When I think back to the response of that tour guide and what she said on diversity, of course we all come from different walks of life. Of course you'll never meet anyone who is like you. It was the obvious. But I would reckon to ask her, Have you ever walked into a room and not seen yourself? Have you ever walked into the room and saw no one who represented you or your background or your culture? I can imagine that her answer to this question would oftentimes be, no, I have not. And that is the experience that she is fortunate to have as a person who does not belong to a marginalized group in this country. And I know there's some people who think, well, what's the big deal? Does it really matter? That's the real world anyways. My answer to those people is, yeah, there is a problem because that is what we see as the real world. Yes, we know that you will have to enter into spaces where minorities are not as represented. Yes, we understand that there will be opportunities that you will have to take where unfortunately you will not be able to see others that look like you. But this should not be the norm in 2017. We should not be able to think that people of color and all minority groups should just be okay with the status quo of not being represented. Because then what does that say about our society? We don't value their culture. We don't value their knowledge and their intellect enough to put them into spaces, equally represent them just as we do everyone else. So today I say, there is power in seeing yourself. And what I told my students is that you may not see students who are like you on this campus, but you can be the one to break the trend. You can be the one who is on that campus in a few years, and another high school student is on a college tour and says, hey, I see someone that looks like me. And you can be that one to empower and encourage. And I challenge our institutes of higher education to do better when we talk about diversity. To not just look at it as, oh, well, we have students who do different sports, who speak different languages. Yes, those are all great. But let's do a better job at representing the racial, cultural, and ethnic backgrounds that are so diverse in the country today. There is no reason why anyone should have to feel that they don't see anyone who looks like them and are discouraged from actually stepping into a place such as the institute that we actually toured, that is ranked amongst one of the highest in the nation, that is so prestigious and has so much to offer. No one should ever feel like they don't belong in such a space. So yes, there is power in seeing yourself. And when I walk into school every single day, I want my students to know that there's power in seeing me, a young woman, a Black woman who has achieved and accomplished much and is still going forward to achieve. There is power in students wanting to be that person that others can see. And it is my hope, my dream, and my desire that going forward, that more and more people will realize the power in seeing yourself. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.